भद्रं कर्णेभिः शृणुयामदेवाः भद्रं पश्येमाक्षभिर्यजत्राः स्थिरैरङ्गैस्तुष्टुवागुंसस्तनूभिः व्यशेम देवहितं यदायुः स्वस्ति न इन्द्रो वृद्धश्रवाः स्वस्ति नः पूषा विश्ववेदाः स्वस्ति नस्तार्क्ष्यो अरिष्टनेमिः स्वस्ति नो बृहस्पतिर्दधातु ॐ शान्तिः 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 ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः. So we covered a lot last time, lot of ground, Vedantic ground, and it has left us in a good place to go further and tackle the mantra, which is it's so full, and you will see that every word is just needs a lot of background, which we will be glad we have once we enter the mantra. So where are we now? Just to make a segue from where we left it off. Sarvam hi etat Brahma. Everything indeed that is here is Brahman. And then the Mahavakya here, sandwiched in a very big sentence in the mantra, in the second mantra of the Mandukya Upanishad, Ayam Atma Brahma. This Atma is also Brahman. This Atma is Brahman. You are Brahman. When you say Sarvam, don't leave yourself out, because it is indeed you who is Brahman, and this equation is Brahman, which is Ishvara. You are one with Ishvara, and we saw how through the indicatory words Satyam Jnanam Anantam, and that Jnanam in Satyam Jnanam Anantam refers to both Ishvara and Jiva. Sat Chit Ananda, that Chit is the one that is where the Mahavakya, the equation, is hidden. That is the place, because consciousness is common both to Jiva and Ishvara. Consciousness with an upadhi. Upadhi, again an untranslatable word, which means a conditioning agent, not in shampoo conditioner, but some kind of a delimiting agent, like the walls, the roof and the floor are the upadhi for space, which turns limitless space into room space. And then and again the walls which are the size of a big field, and then the floor, which is demarcated as belonging to the field, turns that same space into a coliseum where some big games are played. Of course not right now. Right now they are being converted into field hospitals and vaccine centers, vaccination sites, as is appropriate. But in those olden days before the pandemic, that's where all the sports were played. The sports arena, that is again sports arena space, that is an upadhi. So Ishvara is an upadhi, Ishvaratva, Ishvarahood is an upadhi to that same Chaitanya, Chit Jnanam, to that same consciousness, which is like a big coliseum. And the Jiva is a tiny closet, water closet, WC, okay? Yeah. That's a fancy way of saying bathroom in architect's language. That's all it is. Needs a place to cry when nobody is looking, okay? That's basically what it is. Both are space. One is spacious, one is commodious, accommodates everything, the other is just a commode, that's all. So that is the that is the only that is the only difference. But what a big difference if you don't know this. If you know this, we can laugh and enjoy, but if you don't know this, then then one believes in it. One believes I'm sitting in a walk-in closet, and then Ishvara is this huge thing. There is no comparison. Forget equation. This is what this is where we this is where the person errs. Without Vedanta, life is truly miserable. This is what it shows. So this is so the upadhi taya, from the standpoint of the upadhi, great big huge differences. From the standpoint of chit, jnanam, chaitanya, whatever you want to call it, from the standpoint of consciousness, an essential non-difference, which is unfolded, which is unfolded through a systematic and a very sophisticated methodology. Many methodologies: karana, karya, prakriya, anvaya, vyatireka, the invariable concomitants, all these things, and very beautifully done, and we saw a little bit of that. So ayam atma brahma, and then the Upanishad could have happily ended right there, making it indeed the shortest Upanishad in the whole universe. But it has something more to say. What does it say? Soyam atma chatushpat. And then, Adi Shankara has fun with this portion. Soyam atma chatushpat, in his commentary. He says chatushpat, is a phrase that is often used in the suktas for our four-footed friends. Shanno astu dvipade, shan chatushpade, like that. Let Bhagavan be a source of blessing. Sham astu, let there be auspiciousness for the two-footed ones, birds, etc., and also for our four-footed friends. So now, suddenly reading Soyam Atma, this Atma, Saha, this Atma Prakritam, which is under discussion, is a four-footed friend. One can get very confused. So he says, no. Chatushpatvam asti Atmanaha. But this Chatushpatvam is not not 4 feet. It is 4 quarters. And he gives an example of an ancient quarter, and 4 of them made one particular unit, like just a quarter. You take an American quarter, and then you have 4 of them, and then you have $1. And in India, we don't no longer have the 4 annas or whatever that was. Our quarter has just been, by default demonetized, because it was so worthless that people stopped using it. People decided to stop using it, and so it is no longer there. And even half a rupee you will not find. Even 1 rupee is very scarce. So this is what it is. Soyam atma chatushpat, which seems kind of like a deflation and a letdown after soaring high over Atma is equal to Brahman, and Brahman is big, and shed the Ishvaratva upadhi. Upadhi, how? After studying the Upanishad, that's why it's called Upanishad. It makes everything go. Shed. Shed the Jivatva Upadhi, and what you find is Jiva is equal to Ishvara. There is just one Ishvara, and that is Brahman. Ayam Atma Brahma. And then suddenly this Atma has 4 quarters. Well, the Upanishad hopes that you have already listened to the lecture on Satyam and Mithya. That's why it can say very, very unequivocally and confidently that there are 4 quarters, and to this, to this Soyam Atma Chatushpat, we have to add one small word, Iva. Iva means what? As though, as it were. From the standpoint of the ignorant person, the jnani wannabe. From the standpoint of the wannabe jnani, the wannabe jnani counts the states of experience. I am now waker, now sleeper, now dreamer, all these things, and has come up with all this. And the Upanishad takes that ignorant counting, forward. Not only that, but adds one more, plus one. Four quarters. So, usually one is only aware of three states of experience. And now here one more quote unquote state is added, which is not a state at all. So Adi Shankara goes to town and spends a lot of energy in his commentary to say that these four quarters are not equal. There is one quarter more equal than the other three, to use George Orwell's term. All animals are equal, he said. Some animals are more equal than others. So here all quarters are equal, but the last quarter is the one that really matters, which swallows up the three quarters. First three quarters, waking quarter, dreaming quarter, sleeping quarter, is what? Mithya. Mithya, mithya, mithya times 3. Mithya times 100 is also mithya. Mithya times 3 definitely mithya. And then the fourth quarter, even though we are counting 1, 2, 3, 4, the fourth quarter is the only thing that is real, is the only thing that matters. Fourth quarter, Paramarthika, the ultimate reality. And the other three quarters, empirical reality. Other two quarters, actually one quarter empirical, all the three quarters you can say empirical reality, and some of them bleed into what is called a subjective reality, pratibhasika, a personal reality. So these three orders of reality, we have seen the other two, Satyam, Paramarthika, Mithya, transactional empirical reality, Vyavaharika, where there is give, there is take, there is guilt, there is hurt, there is fear, there is sorrow, there is, peppered with a few little grains of happiness once in a while. This is what is called Vyavaharika. And that is where one identifies, one is born into the understanding, wrong understanding of course. I am a karta. One takes one to be the agent of action, one takes one to be the recipient of action, one takes one to be a factor. All the other factors of action we have seen in detail, all the karakas come into the picture. Ramaha gacchati, Rama goes. And then that is the first case, agent case, nominal case. Then you ask, where does Rama go? Well, naturally he goes to the forest. Vanam gacchati. Vanam is in second case the object of the sentence. And then kena gacchati, how does he go? And then we have to say padbhyam gacchati, he goes, he can't translate it directly, he goes with his feet, he goes by foot. Yeah, he goes by foot. And then that is the instrumental case. Why does he go? Fourth case, Pitravakya Paripalanartham, Paripalanaya, in order to keep the word given by the father to his stepmother. For that sake, he performs this action of going to the forest. And then from where does he go? From the palace in Ayodhya to the outskirts of the forest somewhere. So where is the origin of action? From the palace where he was about to be coronated. Then, who all goes with him? All that is there. Then Sita goes, Lakshmana goes. And then, Sita, his wife. So possessive case, his brother. He's accompanied by his sixth case. Tasya bharya saha gacchati. Bhrata. Bhrata means brother. So goes with the brother, goes with the wife. And then, And where is he now? Sitting under a tree, locative, having reached the forest. Seventh case. All these cases are there where? On the empirical reality called Jagat, which is Ishvara Srishti, which is the playground of for the jiva to stomp out some karmas from the last life, exhaust them, and to create new karmas, unfortunately, whether one likes it or not. This is the stomping ground for the jiva. It's also a place for dharma to be enacted and to earn punya. This all constitutes the waking state. Think about it. So the waker wakes into an awakened and a waking up Jagat, which is alive to possibilities, which is in the process of manifesting new things, including the results of action of this fellow who is yet to perform the action. You see, it is a manifesting Jagat. Just like the waker, it is awake, and the waker is relating to the Jagat. Sometimes the fellow is contrite, sometimes happy, sometimes withdrawn, sometimes moody, and broods, and sometimes jumps with ecstasy and falls down in agony. All this is happening. And the individual waker related to the waking state as though by default reaches to relates to Ishvara Srishti with a twist, with the overlay of raga and dveshas. And so the first quarter, of course, is a vyavaharika, means it's got Ishvara Srishti, of course. And then what? Mixed with a little bit of Jiva Srishti. Maybe a lot of Jiva Srishti. We don't know. It depends on whether the person is a Vedanta student or not. If you are a Vedanta student, there will be less of Jiva Srishti as you study more and more and more. And if you are not a Vedanta student, then there will be what? There will be more of Jiva Srishti. One's own creation, one's own nonsense, one's own raga and dvesha, one brings to the Jagat. Not to the Jagat, to the perception of the Jagat, and thereby suffers. Is not able to enjoy the Jagat as Brahman, as Ishvara's manifestation, as a veritable manifestation of Bhagavan. And so one is seeing things that are not there. This is what is called pratibhasika. All this is happening in the first quarter, the waker upper, who feels quartered by the Jagat and everything. And so this fellow is just trying to make it. Fellow means jiva, okay? And so make it, trying to go from day to day, trying to live on some kind of handouts of approval, feeling insecure. And who is this person? The Upanishad has a wonderful name. Sthula Bhuk, the consumer of gross objects. Everything, grasps everything. Consumer means the one who keeps on naming things, the one who keeps on taking everything in through the sense organs, the one who keeps interacting needlessly, puts his grubby paws everywhere. Everywhere, it's just like a dog that has come out from the rain. The whole house is full of puddle, footprints. So like this, this jiva has put its footprints everywhere, messed up the Jagat, along with other jivas. The rampage. And so this Ishvara Srishti is what? Along with Jiva Srishti, is experienced in a very gross, tangible way. Gross here means tangible way. The tangible world of Vyavaharika Satta, of the empirical reality, is experienced tangibly with the help of the organs of the senses and the organs of action together conspire to make this person what is called in Sanskrit a sthula bhuk. Sthulan bhunkte, it is sthula bhuk. Okay? And then another name is given for this waker upper, the one who is awake, and this name is Vishwa. Vishwa. Vishwa means the one who is fiery, passionate, and who enters everything, goes everywhere, wants to go everywhere, even though they cannot go, being finite, cannot go everywhere. So this is the jiva. And then the jiva is relating to the jagat, and the jagat here as Brahman is called Brahman, along with the jagat, Ishvara, equipped with the power to be the overlord of the jagat, is called Virat. Vividham Rajate, overlords and shines in various ways. So the Vishwa relates to the Virat, complains, curses the Virat soundly and roundly, and goes about the day. Then at the end of the day, what happens to Vishwa? For tires out, falls asleep with a bucket of popcorn right in front of the television. And then there is a change of name over here. Vishwa, quote unquote, becomes what? Taijasa, gets a new epithet. Taijasa. Because there is a certain awareness. Tejas is there. Born of Tejas, Taijasa. There is a certain awareness, there is a certain presence, but what is not there? What is not there is there is no place, there is no way to broadcast this awareness. That is the thing. The mind, which is the antennae, have, like some cars have this antenna, and then when you take it through the car wash, you have to press something, and then you don't want the antenna to get spoiled, so it withdraws inside the car. So like that, the mind and the ahankara withdraw, so it's not able to say, I'm sleeping very well, I'm one with Ishvara. Sorry, goes to sleep, that's not Taijasa, that is Prajna. Prajna. Prajna means Prakarshena Ajnaha, relating on the other hand to Ishvara, relating what is one with Ishvara. Has become one with Ishvara, again within quotes, was never separate to begin with, but has become one with Ishvara, so to speak, but he is not alive, so to speak, to tell the tale. Is just in a comatose situation, hopefully temporary, and then wakes up and is not really in a place, because the antennae which broadcast this ananda have withdrawn into a causal state. They have become one with the cause, which is Ishvara. So this is what is Prajna, new name. And here what is he? Here the he means jiva, which is masculine. What is he or she? Ananda Bhuk. Anandam Bhunkte. That's why sleep is just Ananda. It's an unbridled Ananda experience. Ananda means what? All just happiness. Nobody wants to get up. That's why new forms of alarm clock have been made in this universe to help you get up. And some of them are very harsh, needlessly harsh. And I saw one. Somebody sent me a video of what it does. It's encased in some kind of an armor, and then you wonder, why does it need this thick silicone casing, and then it has this harsh ringtone, and it rings. And what does it do when it rings? It rolls over to the edge of the bedside table, falls and rolls over to the other room, ringing all the time. So you are forced to get up. You have to get up. Why? Because you don't want to get up. Simple. Nobody wants to get up. Getting up is a hard thing to do. Sleeping is wonderful. Why? Because there is a unmitigated happiness in sleep. This is Advaita in practice. And you can never tell me after listening to this that there is no Advaita experience. I am not having non-dual experience. You are having non-dual experience all the time. You are one with Ishvara in sleep. And then what? Before you wake up, there is Ardha Vikasa. There is a kind of a change of state. And what does this person become? Taijasa. Taijasa, the potential dreamer, the potential creator. relating to what is called Ishvara in the form of, on the macro level, Ishvara in the form of Hiranyagarbha. And people have funny translations of Hiranyagarbha. You know, they Garbha, womb, Hiranya, gold. So, gold womb. I saw this somewhere. Or then Garbha, egg, and golden egg. Laid by what? Paramahamsa, supreme swan. You know, this is how pocketbook Vedanta. Pick it up if you want to have a nice time, and not if you want to get confused. You know, this is what you can read in your spare time and just have a good laugh. And you can only have a good laugh provided you know that this is a wrong translation. There is no divine goose or golden swan or supreme swan. No such thing is there. Hiranya means shining, like gold. Gold eva, like gold it is shining. What is that? Knowledge. Garbha, within, which carries in itself Hiranyam Garbhe Yasya, that which is all knowledge with the potential to create. The creation is yet to be, and this is who the dreamer is relating to. So your dream world is within Ishvara's potential to create. It's wonderful. You are co-creating. Your dream is part of the co-creation, very part of Ishvara's manifestation. As a dreamer, you are co-creating the potential that is meant to be. Your dream, which you yet don't know what it's going to be, is included within the manifestation. Included. And so, this is something which is something very, very wonderful to know, very, very wonderful to have, and see how, where to go from here. Because this is not an ordinary thing. This is also a kind of what should I say? This is a kind of an objective / subjective experience. That your dream, that you have the potential to create, objective. That the potential to create is Ishvara-esque, objective. That your dream is a spewing forth of your own ragadveshas, subjective. So you see, there is Vyavaharika and Pratibhasika nicely, nicely cooking together, making a khichdi. This is what is happening. Little bit of Satyam, little bit of Mithya, so to speak. So then, this is Taijasa. Taijasa is relating on the macro level to Ishvara as Hiranyagarbha. So then you have the six things. You have Virat, which is Bhagavan, and then that you relate to when you are a waker, when you are Vishwa, Sthula Bhuk. And then you are what? You are Prajna, you are the sleeper. Prakarshena Agnya, you don't know anything at all. And then what happens after that? You are relating to the Ishvara. Prajna, Ishvara, you are relating to Bhagavan, and you are Ananda Bhuk. And then finally what? You are Taijasa, dreamer, relating to Bhagavan as Hiranyagarbha, the one that has the potential to create, is all knowledge. In dream also, it's just your own knowledge that manifests as the dream. And so these are the 3 quarters, so to speak, that are experienced every day. A mix of Vyavaharika and Pratibhasika in all of them, little bit, except perhaps the sleep, which is completely Vyavaharika. And so therefore, you cannot, you cannot deny these experiences, because everybody experiences this. And the unique contribution of Mandukya Upanishad is to bring in the macro and the micro together and show that there is oneness. And how is this oneness shown? Because when the Upanishad says, Ayam Atma Brahma, this Atma is Brahman. What is this I? You are Brahman. What is this you? Not the body, not the mind. That word is Jnanam Chit. You are consciousness. prajnaha. You are prajna. You are just awareness, consciousness. And then when you are awake, you are called bahishprajnaha. Bahishprajnaha means the one who is conscious of external things. Because there are things external to you meaning the one who occupies or indwells the body mind sense complex, and there are things seemingly external to you from the standpoint of the one who is in the body, so as though in the body, as though conditioned by this upadhi called the body mind sense complex. And then what? And then this person is relating to the waking world. And so this is a kind of a relationship, because what is the waking world? The waking world is nothing but Ishvara, who is also prajna. So this prajna is bahish prajna. Prajna plus bahihi. Bahihi means external. So prajna, awareness, that's as though qualified by something that is awareness fixated on the outside. Outside in relation to this body. Then what happens? Then antaf prajnaha. Antaf prajnaha is pratibhasika, dream state, where one is conscious of things happening within, because the dream is not without. It is a projection, but it is a projection of things that are within. One's desires, one's fears, that is what is projected in the dream. That is personal to one's self. So, as a dreamer, you are still prajna, but that prajna is as though qualified by a hat. You wear the hat called Taijasa. And then you are also called Pravivikta Bhuk as a dreamer, the consumer of subtle things. And then what? You are relating to Hiranyagarbha. Hiranyagarbha is also prajna, is also consciousness, equipped with the potential to have all knowledge and create everything as manifest everything. That knowledge itself is the projection. The Mundaka Upanishad says this very nicely, tapasa brahmachiyate. Jnanameva tapaha. So this tapas, so to speak, is not some Brahman sitting, Ishvara sitting in meditation, how shall I create the universe? No. That knowledge itself is that contemplation. That knowledge itself bursts forth. There is no time, no space, because space is yet to come, time is yet to come. That is why the scientists are not against Vedanta at all. Otherwise, if you start saying on day 1, Bhagavan created this on day 2, and you take it literally, not figuratively, they get upset. But here, this is what exactly the Big Bang also says. Time and space are relative. And then this is what is there, and it is so beautiful. And it is not against logic. We have no pressure to prove that Veda is scientific, because Veda is its own means of knowledge. But it is not outside of human logic. Logic plus Shruti, the revelation, logic plus revelation, it is easy to assimilate this truth, because it's in keeping with how one thinks. And then, so we have this prajna, bahish prajna, antaf prajna. And then there is a state which is included here called the state of lucid dreaming, what Carl Jung later was going to term as lucid dreaming, which is neither sleeping nor awake. This is a very special place of prophetic dreams and premonitions. Whatever one has, one is aware of both, one as a sleeper, one as a dreamer, one as a waker. This is called ubhayataf prajna, neither here nor there, both of them together. And then when you are fast asleep, aprajna, you might as well be there be a log of wood on the bed. You are as good as jada. you know. And so all the way it is prajna. Prajna is Atma, consciousness. Consciousness conditioned by the body. The body is mithya, comes and goes, dependent reality. Neither here nor there, existent but not quite on its own. And cannot be called non-existent either. In between existence and non-existence. Cannot be categorically defined as existent. Because by the time you say the body is existent, it's already aged. What? Speak up! Huh? This is what happens. And so this is the it's already aged. So you cannot even say that the body is existent. But then you cannot dismiss the body, because if somebody pinches you, you say, ow, you feel it. And so, therefore, that is an example of mithya. A mithya means dependent reality, dependent on sat, dependent on paramarthika. This vyavaharika satta, the Ishvara srishti, is mithya. Mithya is non-separate from that upon which it depends, which is sat. Mithya is sat, pot is clay, clay is not pot. And so you are prajna. And you are antaf prajna. So if the pot were being taught a lesson, you would say to the pot, you are not pot at all, you are clay. And as a dream, as a sleeper, you are glazed clay. You have a glazed look. As a waker, you are clay. You are clay that is being used to carry water from place to place. As a dreamer, you are clay as a potential. You are yet to go into the kiln. This is how the clay would be taught. Antaf prajna, bahish prajna, ubhayataf prajna, aprajna, all these things. Amazing. And so, if this satyam and mithya is understood, then, we can enjoy this chatushpatvam. So these 3 quarters that we have just discussed, mithya 1, mithya 2, mithya 3, mithya, mithya, mithya. There is something because of which all the quarters come to be. They are manifest. They emerge as though from this one, and then they go back to this one, so to speak. And that one alone is true, the others are not. What is that? Turiya. This turiya, even though it means fourth, short for chaturiya, but it is not the fourth. It is fourth from the standpoint of Atma Ajnanam, which the person studying this Upanishad is equipped with. So the Upanishad is coming down to the level of the sadhaka and helping them go forth, go forward. A very unique methodology here. Because the infinite is hidden in the finite. That is why from the standpoint of this there are 4 quarters. But if you look for the infinite as a separate entity, you will never find it, because the looker upper is the one that is Turiya. And the looker will look where? Everywhere. Turiya is not an object. Oh, then it is the subject. I already told you in the first day itself, we have to stop talking Vedanta baby talk for this series of talks, for this retreat. No more goo goo gaga, Atma, Anatma. I am Atma, everything else is Anatma. Anatma, not I. Not I is separate from I. I am the subject, not I, object. What are you? Are you two? Meaning, this is baby talk from the standpoint of Vedanta. No, I want grown-up Vedanta. Okay. Grown-up Vedanta is that you are neither subject nor object. Oh. Oh. Now, I think I want to go back just for a few more years, perhaps. Let me grow into it. You are neither subject nor object. Okay, maybe I am non existent. Listen to yourself. Listen to yourself say, I am non existent. Have a good laugh. Because it rings so hollow. It's a joke. Because the only existent being in the universe is making an attempt to deny oneself. So you are not non-existent. You are a conscious being, Turiya. The Turiya is hidden in the waker, so to speak. Hidden means cannot be found as an object. Turiya upholds the dreamer. Turiya upholds the sleeper too. And you know what? The biggest secret of all. Turiya upholds the macro corollaries of all these three. Turiya upholds Virat, Ishvara in the waking state, Ishvara as the manifester of the universe. Ishvara equipped with the status of being the manifester and the taker-backer of the universe. Turiya upholds all knowledge Ishvara with the potential to create Hiranyagarbha. Turiya upholds Ishvara. After everything, all the names and forms are gone. What is left is that Turiya alone called Ishvara. What a brilliant methodology it is. You start with 4, you end up in 1. This is what Vedanta is. Vedantic mathematics. You start with million, you end up in 1. 2 plus 2, 1. 1 plus, infinite plus 1, again infinite. Infinitely 1. That's why the Upanishad, falls short of saying ekaha, because whenever the word one is used, it adds advitiyam. And here too in this mantra, ekatma pratyaya saram. It is that eka is qualified, because otherwise if you say one is a number in a set. So 1 becomes 2, 3, 4 on this side. On the other side you can have all these tiny fractions. 1 half, 1/4, all these things. And so unfractionably 1, non-dually 1. And then this one, this is this Turiya. This Turiya alone is. Turiya is, and you are Turiya. Ishvara is Turiya. And then this Atma is Chatushpat, alright. And then there is Jagarasthana, Jagarasthaniya, the waker upper, the one who is occupying. It's very interesting how the Upanishad words it. Jagarasthana means, the Sthaniya means the one who is occupying the waking state. Who is that one? Turiya. And the one on the macro side, the one that is manifesting the whole universe, who is that? Turiya. That's why Adi Shankara immediately puts a footnote, not even a footnote, an important underlined in bold note. He says, when we are talking of Atma as Turiya, it is Ishvaratvam, Ishvara. It is Ishvara all the way. And that itself, the word Turiya itself is a Mahavakya, because it includes everything. It includes the hapless, hopeless, jaded, faded Jiva, and it includes the glorious Ishvara. With the glories, without the vibhutis of the Jagat, still Ishvara alone. Beautiful. And then, we will now read and understand, mantra number 7, because now we are totally equipped to enjoy this mantra. Very, very nice, very important, because we are left with a, we are left in an interesting place here. Because the sentence, Atmanaha Chatushpatvam Asti, Atma has 4 quarters, leaves one with the feeling that this Turiya, okay, I am Turiya, all right. I mean, I don't know it quite, but You seem like a pleasant person, and I'll take your word for it. If you one were to say, and I'll take your word for it. And then what? And then one is left with the burden of the three states. So this Turiya, so to speak, has to carry the Prajna, has to carry the Vishwa, has to carry the Taijasa, has to carry everything, you know, has to keep on carrying. And then I am stuck. I am stuck with all this. And because I'm stuck with all this, I cannot get out of the waker. And already one feels like this, experientially speaking. I want an out of body experience. Why? Because I feel stuck with this body. Out of body experience means what? Some kind of astral experience one wants. Be careful what you wish for, because one may not be able to come back. There are instances of that. I don't know how true it is, but this is what some people say. Adi Shankara could do it. He had an experience. An experience in his life is talked about. What is that called? Parakaya Pravesha. Parakaya Pravesha. And this Parakaya Pravesha means he entered into a body of a king, a very kind of a, what should I say, a king who was enjoying himself, had a big harem, etc. And the king was a glutton and met with an early death. And Adi Shankara, what did he do? He entered the body of the king after asking his student to guard his own body. So one is not able to do that. Even if you enter into somebody else's body, what happens? You still have to carry the burden of their waking experience, their dreaming experience, their sleeping experience, etc. It's a big, big burden. So I'm left with these three things. So that the waker is an identity that is stuck to me, because every morning I wake up, every night I sleep. The sleeper is an identity that is stuck to me, and the dreamer is an identity that is stuck to me. No. And this negation is very important, because it clinches further the helps one to assimilate the message studied so far. So let us read the mantra. You can just read along with me. Nantaf pragyam na bahish pragyam no bhayataf pragyam na prajnana ghanam na pragyam na apragyam adrishtam avyavaharyam agrahyam alakshणम अचिन्त्यम अव्यपदेश्यम एकात्म प्रत्ययसारम प्रपंच उपशमम शांतम शिवम अद्वैतम चतुर्थम मन्यन्ते स आत्मा स विज्ञेयः. Very nice, beautiful mantra, quite a mouthful. And so the negation in the Shruti, in the Upanishad, is very, very important, because the Upanishad is competing with one's already preconceived and most of the time wrong notions about oneself, about the Jagat, about Ishvara. All these wrong notions have to be summarily dismissed. And the dismissal constitutes 9/10 of the teaching. And then 1/10 of the teaching is just to point out what it is, lakshanaya, through indicatory sentences, satyam, jnanam, anantam, etc. And here in this mantra, ekatma pratyaya saram, that's the only one I think. Yeah, Shivam, Shantam, all these things. The Advaitam again is from, it's a negative word. So there are very few positive things indicating what it is, because the self being self-evident, when all the misconceptions are laid to rest, and a mass burial has been made for all of them. They have been interred. Then what grows in that soil of wrong notions, when the wrong notions have to be laid to rest, the flower of oneness blossoms in the heart. Ishvara blossoms in the heart as the truth of oneself. So before Ishvara was not blossoming, Ishvara was blossoming. But nobody was there to smell the rose. Nobody was there. People were missing in action. Nobody was there, because why was one missing in action? Preoccupied. Playing Vishwa, playing Taijasa, playing Prajna. First playing, then paying. Yeah, because action and then result of action. Lakara lopaha, playing and paying. This is what the whole thing is. And then, so now we go further, and then we are told that you are not an entity to whom the waking, dream and sleep states are stuck together. And you have to bear this burden of being a waker. What are you today? Waker. What are you tomorrow? Waker. Today, Monday, waker. Very hard to wake up. Thank God it's a holiday, but still waker. And then what are you tomorrow? Waker. And then day after tomorrow also you plan to get up? Yeah, I have to get up. Why can't you just continue to sleep? Because the stupid prarabdha, my own karma, will wake me up. Yeah, because people sleep due to good karma. Because sleep is after all punya, ananda. It's a manifestation of one's merits gained in this or another life. Pujya Swamiji had a neighbor in Rishikesh in the days of yore, long ago, in the 60s in Rishikesh. So the neighboring Swami in the hut, he used to go visit, and they used to have bhiksha together, lunch together, and he used to go visit him. And that Swami had a student. And the Swami he used to visit was very, decrepit, old, had arthritis. But still he would go. He would go stand in line wherever in the other ashrams they were giving food, etc. And he would bring 2 bowls, one for himself and one for his student. You might ask, was the student ill? No. Was the student elderly? No. The student was a permanent prajna, sleeping all the time. Sleeping. And then Pujya Swamiji was little annoyed. Here is this young man, and not even serving his guru. And what's the story here? He was intrigued and slightly annoyed, because this is not the usual way of being. Usually the shishya, especially a young, strapping young man in the form of this shishya, can definitely serve the teacher and bring a bowl of food. But here he is snoring away in the hut, and the teacher is, serving him. What is going on? So Pujya Swamiji asked, why don't you, because it was one very cold day, and the Swami was in his blankie, shivering outside the hut, and the student is nicely sleeping inside the hut. And the Pujya Swamiji asked him, Swamiji, why do you are too old to go, let me bring the food. He says, yeah, please bring 2 bowls, one for me and one for the student. And then he said, what's the deal here? This fellow is always sleeping, you are always bringing his food. What's the deal? Why don't you wake him up and send him? It looks like it's about to rain, it's getting very cold. Please send him, wake him up. He says, no. Who am I to interfere in Ishvara's world? Ishvara has given him the blessing of uninterrupted sleep. Let him sleep. It is his own punya. So, if punya makes you go to sleep, it's anybody's guess what makes you wake up. Papa, because Ananda is gone. We politely say prarabdha, but actually it is Papa. Papa makes you wake up. And then of course I'm planning to get up the next day and the next day and the next day, because there is enough papa till the end of the life to make me up every morning. Or whenever I try to get a shut eye, papa wakes me up and then I get up. And then what? In between, needless, useless, endless dreams. And somebody told me keep a dream journal, so I wrote things down, and then I said this is nonsense, threw it all away. And all this, and I'm stuck with being the waker. Where is moksha in all this? No moksha from waking up. I can't permanently go to sleep, and even if I go to sleep, no moksha from sleep. So the Atma, supposedly Turiya, Puratraye, Kridati, it plays in these three states of thing. Where is it playing? It is carrying the burden, and the waking state has glommed onto it, the sleeping state has stuck to it like velcro, and the dreaming state is just one with it, identified. I'm stuck with it life after life. This is called the daily grind. Prajna Taijasa Vishwa, Prajna Vishwa Taijasa, Vishwa Taijasa Prajna, and it is all stuck to me. Na, that is why the mantra begins with Na. You are not Antaf Prajna. Antaf Prajna means you are not your subjective world comprising raga, dvesha, memories, dreams, desires, everything, knowledge. You are not your internal world. Oh, this is a showstopper. You are not the world, your personal pratibhasika, subjective world that you create. You are neither the creator nor you are identified with your creation, which is this subjective world, nonsensical world of fears and tears. You are not. Then what are you? You just take the last word here in everything. Prajna. Antaha is gone. The inner subjectivity has been washed away by the tsunami called Prajna. Antaha is negated. You are simply Prajna. And then, oh, maybe I'm stuck with a waking state, because after all, who remembers the dream and who counts the dream? Na. Who counts the dream? Na. You are not Antaf Prajna at all. You are not the dreamer. And even in the waking state, you are not a subjective individual, subject to all the whims and fancies of creating a personal world, either during the dream or during the daydream. Still, that is Antaf Prajnatvam. Antaf Prajnatvam Turiyasya Nasti. There is no subjective world to which the Turiya is involved, with which the Turiya is involved, to which the Turiya is connected. Like I have said many times, Satyam and Mithya cannot go for a walk together. Like pot and clay wanting to be in a relationship. Where is the relationship? Pot is clay. There cannot be any relationship. There only when there are two separate entities there is a relationship. So then there is no subjective world that is attached to you or that you are identified and involved with actively, and that is you. No. Na bahish prajna. There is no outer world to relate to either. Now, the first one I understood very well, okay, because you have been telling us for some time now that you have to get rid of your subjectivity, you have to reduce your raga, dveshas, all these things. This I followed, and I felt happy that the Upanishad began with that. But na bahish prajna means I am not aware of the waking world, I am not the waker. Then who is the one who is listening to this class? Who is the one? Who is the one that is sitting here listening to the class? Who is the one relating? Who is the agent of action? The bahish prajna. So if I have to take this very seriously, that there is I am not relating to the outer world. If I have to take this sentence seriously, Then I have to ask you, what am I relating to when I sit in front of you in your class? as though, as though. You are as though bahishprajnah, you are as though antahprajnah. The bahi and antah are just spatial epithets, spatial qualifiers, which are mithya, which are dependent reality, which come and go. Spatial qualifiers. Bahihi, antah. Who are you? Prajnaha. You are that awareness. And when that awareness he leans forward, it is called the waker, and says, aha, interesting. Oh, look here, look there. Cow, sheep, trees, a babbling brook. What a bucolic scenery. How nice. Bahishprajnah. And then it retreats into itself. Puriyah. Same thing, prajnah. And then prajna then thinks, oh, what a wonderful lunch I had yesterday. Antah prajna, same prajna, as though ruminating. And then again, the dhyayati iva, same Upanishad, lelayati iva in the Karika. The same turiya, this is known here as prajna, this same awareness decides, I'm going to take a Vedanta class and I'm going to have immersion into Vedanta. And then what? Eva, as though. And then the same turiya, same prajna, same awareness decides, enough, anam Vedantena, enough of Vedanta, I need to go off and do my own things. I'm going to get distracted. We are not bothered. We say it is as though. Go for it, have fun. Because you can never really get away from Vedanta. Oh yes, you can. All I have to do is shut off the computer. But what is Vedanta? It is you. It is Brahman. The subject matter of Vedanta is Ishvara as you. Try getting away from Ishvara, from Turiya, even for a second. First of all, where will you go? I won't go to the Himalayas because I've heard that's where Ishvara sits. I'll go to the swamp. There is one in Georgia. Okefenokee swamp. I'll go to the swamp. Swamp is Ishvara, Swampeshwara. Yeah. I'll go to the Swampeshwara. I'll go somewhere where he cannot find me. Where will you are? You are him, you are her. She is you. Where are you going to go? You cannot get out of Brahman. You can maybe even possible to have an out of body experience, because we've had some historical precedent for that. But you cannot have an out of Brahman experience. Very sorry. Even if you pray hard and tell Ishvara, all I want, when Ishvara manifests in front of you, what do you want? I want to be free of you. Sorry. Cannot be free of Brahman, cannot be free of me, because I am you. I can make you free. Free of what? This kind of nonsensical thinking. By giving you a guru, by giving you Shastra. I can make you free of this kind of a useless train of thought. But you cannot be free of me, because there is no me other than you. The I and in me is the I in you. And when that I is actively playing in the world as an agent, as a recipient of action, it is called, as an actor and a recipient of action, it is called Bahishprajnah. You are not Bahihi. Bahihi, cancel. Put a circle on Bahi and put a slanting line. You are just Prajnah. So the waker state is negated for this I. Very interesting. That means what? Virat is also negated. The waking world is also not there. Jagataha, one Vedanta writer said, Vismriti pragyaha. is best forgotten is mostly forgotten. And this is one's experience also when one is in a happy place. Happy, when one is contented, you barely notice all the things that bother you. You don't even notice them. They might as well not be there. You are one sve mahimni tishtati. You are residing and abiding in your own glory. Na bahish prajnah. There is no world to speak of. What about you as waking and stomping around in this world? No world to speak of. Doesn't mean you're dismissing the world. You're dismissing the world and the waker as separate from the I, as separate entities other than this awareness. And then Ubhayataf Prajna. Ubhayataf Prajna means what? The one who is a lucid dreamer. The lucid dreamer you are not. In some Aboriginal tribes in Australia, there is one group called the Dreaming Society, and they take certain herbs and they get into this lucid dreaming state and they prophesize what is there for the community, and they are highly regarded and and respected in the tribe. And so ubhayataf prajnah na, you are not, your identity is not anything in between all these three states. You are not. And then further, na, another negation, na prajnana ghanaha, na prajnana ghanam. So prajnana ghanaha is just a undifferentiated mass of consciousness which is there in sleep. You are an undifferentiated mass of awareness which doesn't have the ability to broadcast itself. You cannot live stream your sleep. In other words, you can later on say, aha, that was a good sleep. So na prajnana ghanaha. And then maybe I'm just simple consciousness, I'm awareness. As a subject, I'm the subject. Na prajnah. You cannot say I'm the subject anymore. That will be subject to an error to just say I am the subject and leave it at that. I am the conscious subject. Na, that conscious subjecthood has been negated, for which Atma, that prajna, that consciousness you are. You are not just some kind of a simple subject conscious of everything all the time. And that means what? In order for you to exist, you have to be supplied constantly with items in the jagats to be conscious of. Permanent witness. You are not. And then what? And then na aprajnah. So then by this time once one is close, one is teeteringly close to thinking that one is no longer existent. One is perilously close to thinking that I must be non-existent. I must be just like anything, like a rock, a wayside rock, insentient, non-existent. Na aprajnah. You are not non-existent. Ayyo, where is this going? So this is okay. Now where are we? Let us take stock of this, because a lot of na, I only remember na and prajna, na and prajna. That's all I remember. That's enough. You are not anything else other than prajna. So then you are not a waker. The truth of you is not a waker. The truth of you is not a dreamer. The truth of you is not a sleeper. Then what are you? The ER. Sleeper, dreamer, waker. You are that R which is invariable in all three states. That R is Turiyar. Okay, so that is Turiya. That ER you are, which is constant. Wake comes and then wake is kicked off by sleep. Sleep is kicked off by dream, and then each one competes to to qualify the suffix er. In fact, the grammar should be doing a shirasasana, should be doing a headstand here, because what we think is a suffix that should come and go is here to stay. It is the substantive, and the substantive here is the suffix. Very interesting. The trich here is atma. Trich means er in Sanskrit. So sleep, you are. Dream, you are. Think, you are. Dream, think, eat, eater, drinker, thinker, climber, and all these er nouns, agent nouns. That which makes the noun into an agent, as it were, is the invariable truth of all of the states in which you get, which you get into: seer, hearer. And all of this is you. You are not any one of them. So, you are not any of them. Nothing sticks to you. Turiya, T for Turiya, T for Teflon. Teflon Turiya, totally non-stick. You cannot fry some kind of a pakoda of the waking state, and it won't stick. And then the dream state is slathered onto it in the form of some kind of a sticky gravy. It won't stick, it just falls off. The sleep state also falls off. Nothing sticks to Turiya. Turiya is uninvolved in all the states. It is the invariable presence. Chakshushas chakshuhu, shrotrasya shrotram. It's the invariable presence in all the states. State comes, state goes. That which doesn't come and go is the er, which is constant, which is you. And therefore, you cannot say I am the waker and take the waking state too seriously. You are as though waker. You cannot dismiss it either, because it is mithya. Mithya cannot be dismissed, nor can it be affirmed. So you cannot say, the waker, and the waker has been dismissed. You cannot be in dissociation. Just like there is this one-way thing. And what is this one-way thing? Pot and clay. Pot is clay. Clay is not pot. Waker upper is prajna, is turiya. Turiya is not the waker. Dreamer is turiya. Turiya is not the dreamer. Sleeper is turiya. Turiya is not the sleeper. Same thing. Eater, drinker, seer, hearer. All of them. And then so, where do I find this turiya? I want to see this turiya. Adrishtam. Next word. Not an object of the senses. Not the subject, which has to be constantly be fed by objects in order to keep it alive. No. And not the object of the sense organs either. So it is not, cannot be seen, means upalakshanaya. Because of this lakshana we can say it cannot be heard, it cannot be smelled, it cannot be touched, it cannot be tasted, it cannot be, inferred, nothing. It cannot, in short, it cannot be objectified. Why? Because it is the self-shining eye which is awareness itself. It need not be objectified. Here is where a subtle mistake one makes. Oh, how do I know the Atma? I cannot objectify it. That means one is stuck as a subject. So if you cannot objectify it, maybe it cannot be known. No. It need not be objectified, because a thing comes to existence in one of two ways. It becomes evident. A thing becomes evident in two ways, one of two ways. Either it is revealed by a means of knowledge or it is self revealing. Everything in the universe requires a means of knowledge to reveal it, like sight, hearing, and all these things. Olfactory nerves, taste buds, the sense of touch, inference, all these means of knowledge we discussed. Two kinds of inference: one step inference, anumana, arthapatti, multi step inference, comparison to something that looks similar to that, that's also a way of knowing. The cognition of absence, all these means of knowledge, they cannot touch this I, because it is not available for objectification. But they need not touch this I, because the I is already self revealing. It's a self revealing I. That's the other way something becomes evident. Either it is pramana siddha, revealed by a means of knowledge, made evident by a means of knowing, or it is self revealing swatas siddha. So for this swatas siddha atma, adrishta, it is not subject to seeing, hearing, but it is known. It is known as I am, I am, I am, I am, I am now, now, now. I am Chit. I am aware. I am awareness. I am aware of myself. Everything becomes evident to me. So it need not be objectified to be known. And because it is partially known, it becomes a locus of various mistaken impressions. So many mistakes. And then therefore, the next one that follows is, it is not available to be seen, heard, etc. So logically it follows it is avyavaharyam, not available for vyavahara, transaction. Hello Atma, how do you do? No answer will come. Are you having a good day? If it could talk, it would say, Turiya would say, remember, I'm not the waker, so I'm not, how can you ask me this question about the day? And if you say, come on, let's I have done you a gross disservice. I didn't even know that you were so glorious. I have spent my life and I haven't even tried to get to know you. Let's say we shake hands on that. Apani padam, no hands, no legs it has, it cannot shake. It is Apani padam is not here, but in another mantra, Mundaka mantra is there. Yachada adrekshamagrahyam avarnamagotram, and then Apani padam, similar mantra. No hands, no legs. Panipadam navidyate yasya apanipadam. And so it doesn't have hands, it doesn't have legs, it cannot say, okay, there, doesn't matter, you have ignored me for several lifetimes, at least you are befriending me now. Turiya doesn't say that. Turiya is incapable of action. Not subject, and if one is incapable of action, one good thing is that one is not subject to the results of action. No papa, no punya. That's going to be said later. Avyavaharyam, no transactability at all. Yet you say, I did this. How? You say this all the time. Who did this? Especially if it's something good. Me! I did this! Because of me, this has happened. I did this. Me. Then, are you Turiya or not? Yeah, I guess I'm Turiya. And if you are Turiya, then how can you say, I did this? Because Turiya is not capable of Vyavahara. So either the Upanishad is making a mistake or you are making a mistake. You are not behaving like Turiya. What is going on? We have to again go back to the drawing board, or rather to the potter's wheel. Pot is clay, clay is not pot. Actor is Turiya. Actor is Turiya. Turiya is not the actor. Just like that. We did the same thing when we discussed all the quarters. And what was the quarters we discussed? The waker, dreamer, sleeper, etc. All these quarters. Waker is Turiya, Turiya is not the waker. Sleeper is Turiya, Turiya is not the sleeper. Sleeper is a role, as though connected to Turiya. The connection is also mithya. The status of being the sleeper mithya. Only the ER is real. The other thing is mithya. It's kind of like these, in India, they have these contests and they will publish in some magazine one eye, a photo of one eye, and then underneath there will be a caption. Guess to which celebrity actor does this eye belong? One eye. And there'll be thousands of correct entries. And then you end up getting 1 paisa, as a gift or whatever. If there is 1000 rupees and there are, thousands of correct entries. And you don't even, and then they will say, send a postage paid envelope. The postage is more than what you are getting. You don't even bother. But this used to be the case. Now they don't do this so much, but then there used to be a contest. And then, the one eye or just the nose of the actor would be just published. Or one upper lip. Whose lip is it? Whose eye is it? So similarly, in understanding what is Bahishprajna, you know the whole. But just seeing the part, you know the whole. Because the part is the whole as far as these fans are concerned. For the fan, any body part of this actor is the whole. So they are able to guess it. So likewise, fan is short for fanatic. Okay, that's why they are able to guess from one eye which actor it belongs to. And so, like this, 1/4 is the whole. Therefore, it is not really quarter by quarter by quarter. It's the whole. Why? Because it is avyavaharyam. It is not capable of transaction. So as the waker, it is the whole. It is the complete Turiya. It's not you getting 1/4 of Turiya. It is the whole. It is the whole Turiya that is inhering the waking condition, the waking state, and it is the whole Turiya that is blessing, so to speak, the sleep state. It is the entire, complete, and partless and non-fragmentable Turiya that is visiting the dream state, as though visiting. Visiting without visiting, visiting eva, as though visiting. So don't think that these, quarters are quartering the experience of Turiya. No, Turiya is whole everywhere, and whatever place, whatever state, whatever temporary identity the Turiya blesses, that is also whole. Purnamadaha, Purnamidam, the cause is whole, that which is the effect is whole. And really you cannot take away the whole from the whole. But even if you tried, what remains is just the whole. So the waking experience is the whole. You are Turiya. Waker comes and goes, but Turiya is there to stay. Sleeper comes and goes, Turiya. As sleeper you are Turiya. Turiya is not the sleeper. And so all this is there, and therefore avyavaharyam means you are as though the agent of action. When you say, I did this, I have accomplished a lot in my life, when you say that, you are as though actor. Turiya wearing a hat of the actor, the agent. Turiya in its presence as awareness, as unconditioned awareness and consciousness, lending its presence to actions without being an actor. Tasya kartaram api mam vidhi akartaram avyayam. Lord Krishna says this in the 4th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, that know me to be an actor as though, but really, essentially, I am not an actor, I am not an agent. And elsewhere, again in the 3rd chapter, he says that, I don't need to gain anything by acting in this world, O Arjuna. I don't need to be doing all these things. I don't need to perform miracles. I don't need to be doing anything. Na kartavyam asti. Trishu lokeshu kinchana. In all the 3 worlds, I don't have any duties. Na anapta, anapta means not gained. I don't have to gain something that is not gained. I don't have to gain something that is not gained. I don't have to do anything. But still you see me as though engaged in action, because if I don't engage in action, the whole world will come to a standstill. Nobody will engage in action because I am the one that blesses all action. And if I just sit in one place, all the people here, all the Bahish Prajnas, the wakers of the world, what will they do? They will not fulfill the purpose for which they were born. Forget Vedanta, even the relative Vyavaharika purpose of being a lawyer, being something, exhausting their karma, being a doctor, helping somebody, doing something, they will not do. They will interfere with my plan of how the world should be run. And so, yadi aham na varteyam jatut karmani tandritah. If I don't pretend, so to speak, to be busy in this universe, mama vartma anuvartante manushyav partha sarvashah. And he concludes, yadyad acharati shreshtah tattadeva itaro janah sayat pramanam kurute lokastadanuvartate. So, Arjuna, you also, like me, you are an exalted being, you are a respected person. If you don't act, then you will be a negative example, so to speak, for everybody. So, here, Bhagavan, Krishna talks about how he has very little to do with action. And similarly, here, Turiya is not an actor. But without Turiya, no actor can play a role. No actor can perform actions. Actor here means just the agent of action. I'm not talking of the one whose eye was published in one magazine, okay? I'm not talking of that celebrity actor. Actor here simply agent of action. So, avyavaharyam, itself not an actor, itself incapable of transaction, yet paradoxically, no transaction is possible without its presence. It blesses every action by just the awareness itself blesses the action. And how we will see in the concluding class later on. ॐ पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते ॐ शान्तिः 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 हरिः ॐ श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः हरिः ॐ